Without any further ado, I would request all of you to please bring your hands together and let the decibels be very high. This is a wonderfully curated panel of experts. And keep it rising as I invite our moderator, Mr. Rishi Nathany, Chief Business Officer, the Multi-Commodity Exchange of India. Sir, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Yes, let's keep the appreciation going as I invite our speakers, Dr. Kailash Nadh, Chief Technology Officer, Zerodha. Yes, thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to have you here. Mr. Pravin Jadhav, founder and CEO of Dhan, may I please request you to join us on stage? And yes, the appreciation, the applause keeps going. Mr. Sandiip Bharadwaj, MD and CEO, Paytm Money. It's wonderful to have you here. And I hope you're all having a good time here. Intriguing conversations. And last but not the least, Mr. Vikas Bansal, Senior Vice President, Groww. Let the applause also grow. Thank you so much. Well, it's time to get to know the secret sauce. And I request our moderator, Mr. Rishi, to please go ahead and curate this conversation for us.
Thank you, ma'am. It's indeed a pleasure to have all of you here. And we have, I would say, the creme de la creme of the capital markets sitting here, either on stage or in the audience. And today we are going to understand what that secret sauce is which makes them tick. And we are going to decode what is the secrets behind the success of the trading UX. So I have with us Dr. Kailash Nadh, CTO, Zerodha. I have Pravin Jadhav, founder, Dhan. I have Sandiip Bharadwaj, MD CEO of Paytm Money, and I have Vikas Bansal, Director of Groww. Now, what I'm trying to do is to try to ask certain questions which hopefully will give you insights as to how they have attained their success and how we can also understand what lies behind that. So I'll begin with you, Kailash, if that's okay. Is that why should we really think about UX in the first place? And what is so important? Why is it so important? And what's the overall relevance and role of UX in the entire trading process? And what is the kind of effort or focus one should put on UX?
Is this working?
Yeah.
So by UX, we're referring specifically to computer UX, app UX. The earlier people used to interact with the markets. Something is wrong. Earlier people used to interact with the markets in a very physical manner. There were paper slips, there was shouting, screaming. That was one kind of UX. Then the world moved on to telephones, phone-based trading. That was another UX. Over the last 15, 20 years, just about, it has moved on to computer screens and phone screens. So UX as a general concept, it has changed from time to time. And in a certain period of history, whenever a certain kind of UX has been prevalent, people have put an effort into optimizing that, making it accessible to everyone. So because today we have graphical user interfaces, computer UX, we, as an industry, as players in the industry, we put an effort into making it as simple and accessible to our users. And that's a very subjective matter. How Zerodha thinks of UX, how Dhan thinks of UX, these are all different subjective matters. But the universal principle of making things simple, easy, and accessible to customers and investors, that's always been there. Now it's just here. And tomorrow, maybe in the age of AI, when graphical user interfaces diminish in their relevance, maybe it'll be a whole different kind of UX and the focus will go there. So it's a very core part of offering customer services.
Thanks for that. So Praveen, coming to you. So what are the right KPIs to measure the success of UX?
So just to add on to what Kailash said, okay, it's an evolving thing. So when we started building trading apps, okay, prior to that, our experience, largely my personal experience was looking at something to do with commerce. When someone is coming with the intent to buy a product or a thing or a service, and how do you get him to complete that most efficiently? that was being measured across all the industries that I largely have worked with. But in case of trading, in case of any investing app, as a app manufacturer or a product guy or as a company, we don't know what our users are going to do. Okay, are they going to invest in the company A, or they are going to invest in the mutual fund B, or any companies? We don't know what they are going to do. So the way we look at trading UX or what you measure, we look at typically 4 different buckets. Okay, one of them is transactions, which is transactions when the user decides that he wants to trade something on exchange, that transactions should go through as quickly as possible. That's the first bucket, okay? The second bucket is the enabling bucket. What are the things that enables the user to do a transaction? So it could be a watch list, it could be an alert, it could be a charts. The third bucket is the data bucket, okay, or the hygiene bucket. So are we showing him the right data? Are we showing him the right portfolio? Are we showing him the right reports? Okay, is what he wants to see in the portfolio is available there at that point of time? Okay, so we typically look at information or user experience in these 3 buckets and try to make sure that they are independently of each other, working in the most efficient manner. Okay, and what the user has to achieve out of that, okay, is left to the user, because at no point of time we cross the border of recommending users what we are not into advisor, we are an execution platform, right? So the philosophy out here states that these 3 individual buckets should operate smoothly, independently of each other, and it's up to the user to choose what transaction he is doing, what data he's trying to look for, or what report he's trying to look at, and we have to give him a 100% success rate, because at the end we're dealing with money. Okay, it can't go wrong. So that's how we look at it. So there is no individual metric which says that out of 100 people who log into my app, I need to convert so and so. We rather look at, okay, if 1,000 people are placing orders in a second, are we able to process that in the same particular time? If people are trying to look at charts, okay, are we showing them the most relevant and most updated data? So we look at metrics in silos, leaving it to the customer to put together as an experience, and that's how we look at the overall experience for the end user.
Great point. And in continuation of this, Sandeep, I'll come to you. Is that when you try to make this journey smoother for an investor, is that UX is all about, or should it actively try to help improve the investor outcomes also?
I think very interesting point. UX originated, trading is not trading got digitized later on, but trading is happening from ages. It's just UX is transitioning from physical to digital. People earlier were comfortable with the EXEs also, and they were finding it much easier. And when they moved to mobile app, the discussion was the EXE is better, mobile app is better. When they moved to mobile app, it started from simplification. That became the talking point that for UX, for a UX point of view, for a consumer, simplification is a priority. But off lately, or maybe onboarding is onboarding is necessary. Simplified onboarding is necessary. But today, I think this all has become hygiene. What we are talking about, simplicity, onboarding, clicks, this is all about making customer use your application without any friction. But what is beyond? Consumer has come to your app is very simplified, but what purpose he's here for? If UI is unable to solve that purpose, our objective get defeated. So it's very imperative for us to define what going to empower our users, which helps them to define the outcome or achieve the outcome. So it is all about empowering the decision making. Create that value ecosystem for a consumer where execution is certainly important, where UX has solved to large extent, and execution is ever evolving with the evolution of technology. So there you will keep evolving. But when it comes to helping consumer to define and achieve their outcome, that's where the role of data, role of tech, and role of personalization comes with, where we can utilize with all 3 of it. We can make it more, data-centric, which is a contextual data to intelligent inputs, which help customers to do relevant and informed decision-making.
Perfect. So we talked about from open outcry days to increased use of tech in UX. Now, it's the age of AI, and Vikas, coming to you, with the increased usage of AI, how do you think that will affect the entire trading UX? Which areas do you think would be best for its application and impact, both in terms of design and usage? Also, will it go just beyond chatbots and recommendations to actually reshaping how investors learn, analyze, and act?
So I think adding on top of what everybody else said, UX is in different layers, right? Like just picking up from where Sandeep left, one of the big part is enabling the user to do the transactions, like what Pravin was saying about the data and the charts. And in the capital markets, there are like so many stocks, so many mutual funds, so many information, so much news happening, and globally, right? Everything is now kind of connected. And for a normal user to kind of make sense of all of those kind of happening is kind of really, really hard. And I think that is one place where AI is kind of already helping, where people are using that to get access to so much information, making sense of it. There's so much data that AI can help you to convert that data into information, help you get access to it, summarize it, and then deliver it to the users, right? Like some of us are kind of doing that with, let's say, just a simple example of like news itself, right? There's so many news which impact your stocks in different ways, but you can't follow up all of those news. And we understanding your holdings and then kind of getting the data, the news about those particular stocks and holdings which are kind of more interested in, whether in a watch list or in holdings, and then kind of summarizing and kind of giving that, making it available to you in an easy way, right? So that is one place where access to data and then helping you do some information gathering on that. And the second related piece is doing more research, something which you don't even hold today or not watching today, but you want to kind of understand more deeply about it. Like there are like so many DRHPs kind of coming. If I want to kind of invest in an IP, you can't read like a 500-page DRHP, right? But AI can kind of summarize that really well for you, and that will be your research and not just like somebody else has kind of. Obviously, there are analysts kind of doing the research, but to some extent, there will be like some biases around that. You can do in the way you want to understand the question that you want to ask, and then the answers kind of come to that, right? So that is the second piece of like research kind of becoming much simpler. And then lastly will be, I would say, the entire UX, like what Kailash was saying, the entire graphical UX. I feel that will also kind of undergo a lot of disruption. We don't know what exact shape and form will come, but I feel it's going to be similar to like what we have seen in the last decade of mobile disrupting the way we kind of browse the internet, or the way we kind of do shopping, the way we kind of access information, a lot of things around that. And why that happened was mobile being ubiquitous and kind of playing Steve Jobs' vision of like, you're just kind of using your natural finger instincts to kind of do something on that. Similarly, AI will make it easy. Like we are conversing right now, not in terms of scrolls or clicks right now, right? We're just talking to each other, speaking and hearing, right? And AI will make it easy in terms of conversation around that, right? Now, will that be just in an interface like what we do today with the ChatGPT in terms of chat? I think that's a starting. Obviously, it's going to be more voice, and at the same time, it's kind of going to be more and more integration happening with the other UX layers around it, right? So AI plus UX coming together, it'll kind of evolve from there. And definitely, I think the apps or the interfaces will look very different in the next 2 to 3 years, and definitely much more different in the next 5 to 6 years as you're going to move forward with that.
Yeah, so as we discussed, that with changing technology, UX will always be a journey and an iterative process. Now, Kailash, coming to you, is that how do you balance between launching new features and improving the existing ones? How do you prioritize them? How do you decide what to do, when to do? What are the data sets or data points you look at, and how do you collect those?
That's really the secret sauce of any org.
That's why we want everyone to know.
So I'm not going to tell anyone. But in reality, it's a matter of great subjectivity plus an evidence-based approach. You look at what your user base wants. That's the most important piece of data that we at Zerodha use. We look at user feedback, demand. It changes over a period of time. User preferences change over a period of time. As Zerodha, we also have a very long-term view. It's not a 1-year view or a 3-year view, 3-year view or a 5-year view. We try to think in terms of like a decade or 2 decades. So having a long-term perspective significantly affects your product, business, tech decisions. If you look at a certain thing that is greatly in demand right now, and if you project it over the next 10 years, that gives you a certain perspective. Is this going to be valid over the next decade? That's a yardstick that we use. It's just a mental exercise. And then the other factors also really kick in, which is, I was citing this example yesterday. Imagine there's a feature that 1% of our user base really wants. If you look at the percentage of user base as a metric, then nothing will ever get built unless a significant 2-digit % of the people really want it. But for this one particular thing, so for this one particular percentage of users, if this feature is exceptionally valuable to their lives, we will do it. Accessibility is one such thing. Again, I was citing this example yesterday. There's a visually impaired group of traders. There's an actual group of Zerodha users out there who swear by some of our platforms, saying it's most accessible to them, to their way of interacting with trading platforms. And that would be like 0.001% of our client base. However, we've put in disproportionately large amounts of time and effort in making that UX for the small group of people who need it. Now, that's a very subjective choice. You can't really go by numbers. And that ties into the organizational philosophy, long-term view, etc. So every feature, whether to build it, whether not to build it, is a trade-off. In fact, I made a joke website out of this. It's called don't.build, www.don't.build. There's a bunch of sliders there, which is a crude approximation of the kind of questions we ask ourselves before we decide to build something or not build something. Is it worthwhile? Is it useful to the business? Is it useful to the end user? How will this look in the next decade? How much value does it bring? How much risk does it bring to ourselves? So you ask all of these questions, and from within the organizational culture and model emerges an answer. Yes, let's do it, or let's not do it. And then over a period of time, it becomes second nature and culture. And every organization has a different way of doing it. So that's how we do it.
Great. So Kailash has touched upon the Zerodha way, and I'm going to jump to you, Vikas. Is that there are different kind of users on every trading app, and there'll be newcomers in the market, there'll be investors, there'll be active traders, etc. And each will have different requirements. And normally, you will get torn between trying to balance requirements of everything, because at the end of the day, you have one app. So, for example, an investor would look at information, fundamental data, simplified transaction. Newcomer would look for information, education. A trader would look at features like speed of execution, charts, etc. So how do you balance the requirements of all these while making sure that the app is universally liked?
Yeah, I think a great question, and maybe my job security to answer that on a daily basis, right? I think it's obviously really hard, like what Kailash was saying, it's about the trade-offs, right? And some of the tenets that we use for that is the two that we never compromise is simplicity and transparency, right? Because it being something in the market where people's money is involved, it is very, very important. Everything is transparent and very simple for them to use that. And now, even though when a power user kind of comes and asks for something, they're not saying like, give me a complicated app or give me a complex feature. They're looking for more power, but I think they still want things to be simple, right? And that's why whenever you're kind of building something, we always kind of make sure that we'll kind of keep it simple, very, very simple, so that any kind of a user should be able to use it. And some of the pieces that we use, one technique that we use is layering the UX, so that on the surface it looks very simple, and then layer by layer the kind of complexity kind of comes up. Second part also is, like you touched upon, let's say, the speed of execution and a bunch of other things, right? Now, a lot of that is behind the scenes, right? Even if you pick up, I would say, even outside of markets, right? Even globally, right? The apps which kind of are operating at a planet scale, like a Google, Instagram, and now ChatGPT kind of, right? If you see their interfaces are like very, very simple, right? It's a easy search box or a chat box or like just a scrolling over there. And that's the reason they're kind of operating that scale. But if you see, they're giving you access to information at internet scale, right, or to your entire network very, very easily, because there's a lot of complexities behind the scene around it, right? And that's what I would say our job is also, like, how can we keep that complexity with us and give a simple interface and meet all of these requirements for all of these users around that. And at the same time, also understand that user much more deeply when they're kind of coming. I should be able to understand, like a user X is coming with a particular persona, user Y is coming with a particular persona, like the use cases that you mentioned, whether it is about investing or trading or charts, and learning that more, and then also even, and that is the magic which AI does even behind the scenes and traditional ML, right? Not just LLMs, which can help you to personalize that experience for the users, right? So combination of, I would say, the layering of the UX and personalizing basis the user behavior, we try to give a combination of different features which different users are kind of looking for. That's one thing that we do.
Thanks. So Pravin, coming to you. So we talked about all these changes. Now, when you test your UX, how do you test it before and after launch? And do you do some beta testing? Do you have some closed user group which of actual clients with which you do it? And many a times you may find something's not working. So have you, I'm sure you must be needing to roll back certain features which you bring out. And then how do you handle the customer feedback, or those customers who are used to that feature or who like that feature, and then they say, oh, I want that. But in the bigger scheme of things, you don't want it on your app. So how do you manage that expectation?
So it's always difficult to manage expectations of a customer who trades in a certain way, and he gets used to something and then you take it away from him. Okay, it's always a difficult thing. But on a brighter side, unlike what what is the answer for Groww, that they have to look at multiple set of users. Okay, we've been kind of very lucky that we have always targeted people who are in the markets. So when we onboard 100 customers onto Dhan, almost every month consistently for the last 4.5 years, 85% of our users are the ones who are in the markets. Okay, so we kind of now have believed that if you are making a product for everyone, we're not making it for anyone. So our philosophy when we are building products for for traders or for investors is that the good part is we don't have to educate them, okay, because they already know trading, they already know investing. How do we empower them with tools that make them trade or invest efficiently? It's a healthy mix of bets that we take and bets that customer wants us to take. So right from our initial journey of building Dhan, we've been meeting traders and investors across India. Till date, probably have done around 40,000 plus interactions, which is personal interactions with people. And even though it's probably 4 years plus, we make it a point that we're at least making 1,000 plus investors, traders in person across different cities, across different towns, and those kind of interactions helps us. Those kind of interactions helps us take our own bets. What is that the customer might be thinking? Can we actually build? So almost, if you're shipping 10 products, okay, 10 features, almost 8 of them are ones which are derived because of interactions that we have with customers, and they say, can you make this simpler? Okay, can you make this faster? This is the challenge that I have with your app. Okay, but the 15% bets or 20% bets that we take, okay, is where we actually go wrong interpreting what the customer might end up thinking. And it's always a challenge because it's an app which is live, people are making money, people are making transactions, and any error out there is a judgmental error where it is always going to make a user give a negative feedback about you. So the challenges that we face, what we try to solve by is trying to make sure that we talk to customers, we give previews of some of our features that are upcoming. We call some of our users to our office and we showcase them the features. Please use them, okay, and give us a feedback. We record how they are using, and then we try to make it a little more perfect before it goes out to the larger audience. But again, when it goes out to a larger piece of audience, okay, it's always very difficult when someone gets used to it, and it's always going to be very difficult when we have to roll it back. But now that's a part and parcel of the job. Okay, we try to communicate to users much more in advance that, hey, these features that you're using is going to be rolled back. So they prepare themselves for it. Thankfully, it gets accepted in most of the cases, and we also try to make sure that we then try to give them a flavor of what is the product roadmap for this particular feature, and how are we thinking this forward. So that's a tricky thing to balance it out, but I'm sure it's much easier for us because we cater to people who know who the markets are, and most of the time they exactly come and tell us this is what we're looking forward to. So be it easier from that when it comes to interactions and collecting insights, but implementations and taking away something from a user is always a difficult thing.
So one very important takeaway from what you've told me is that everyone says broking is crowded, but I see you have your niche, Groww has their niche, everyone, Zerodha, Paytm, everyone will have their niche. So you are going after maybe more mature participants, someone is going after new investors, things like that. But everyone, all of you are super successful. So I
just to add, okay, we did try to get into each other's territories. We tried to make it investor app. We tried to give it to new users, but they're like, this doesn't work for us. It's too complicated.
I understand there's always be a Venn diagram, but there will be overlaps. But end of the day, you will find your sweet spot. So taking from that, Sandeep, is that in any industry, and especially the financial services industry where trust is paramount, it's critical. What elements of UX actually help building that trust?
I think trust is underlying asset of when it comes to money. Whether it is money exchanges between the private hands or the money exchanges in terms of investments. And I feel that in this age, it is no more about brands. It is also it is coming with a huge advertisements or showcasing that we are the most trusted brand. It is all about consumer feel it and the consumer live it. So, and UX, I feel, defines to large part of it. When consumer lands on the application and they use it, the friction, the convenience, the confidence which they get it from this entire journeys define their trust over the application or trust over the brand. So it is no more a brand-led trust. It is all about experience-led trust. That is what this entire digitization or digitized industry is all about. People are trusting from the smallest of the startup to the newest of the products which are coming in the industry. So I personally feel it is all about control, it is all about convenience, and it is all about empowerment, which consumer feels over the application, which helps them to navigate from their basic needs to tracking to optimize and stay relevant and make their core objective of creating a wealth for long term. So that is what I feel trust is transitioning from brand-led trust to execution-led trust.
Great. So experiential trust building. That's something new which will stick with me. Yeah? Now coming to Kailash, back to you. In order to stay ahead of the curve and stay differentiated from the other trading apps, etc., one would always be tempted to keep adding more bells and whistles to the app, right? Ki naya kya hai? Everyone says, what's new, right? But on the flip side, it will always add more complexity to your app. So how does one decide what's the ideal balance between being feature-rich and simplicity? And is feature-packed great, or less is more when it comes to the trading UX on a financial services app?
There comes a point when not adding too many things becomes a differentiator. And as I said earlier, having a long-term view helps. We may be excited about 5 things today, but will those 5 things be relevant to us and our customers a decade from now? That's a really good mental yardstick to measure these things. And not every feature has to be a visible, tangible artifact on the user interface. So that's one big differentiator. You can keep adding features and functionality. Maybe functionality is a better word. It describes it better. You have to keep adding new functionality, keep up with the times, keep up with user demand. But does it have to be a whole new artifact on the user interface? It doesn't have to be. There are many ways of assimilating features. That's also something that we do, where there's this concept in HCI, human-computer interaction, called affordance, where you don't really have to have a button for everything. You can't present 100 different features to a user. But when a user matures, understands the UI and UX over a period of time, what they need, there must be pathways for them to discover. It doesn't have to be one tap. These things are a little arbitrary, one tap, two tap, etc. So there's great academic backing to the whole idea, the psychology of human-computer interaction. So there are these universal principles, and I think for us, the biggest principle that we follow that drives all of our UI/UX decisions is the long-term vision. An 18-year-old signs up with Zerodha today, but in 10 years they'll be 28. Their taste will change, their risk appetite will change, the kind of money they invest will change, their needs will change. So you can never really, with wealth, finance, management apps where people bring their life savings, you can't really be trend following. You shouldn't be trend following. Trends change, people age, everything changes, right? So that means there's this universal view that age groups come and go and transition and they mature, and the same UI and UX that they're familiar with without breaking their muscle memory should subsist and sustain for a long time. And over the last 15 years, this is something that we've gained experience in, and that drives everything that we do, that fine balance. So oftentimes, like, 98% of the feature ideas that we get, we in fact don't implement because we realize that it may be a short-term thing and it doesn't truly give value to the user. So it's a philosophical model, largely, more than a technical design model.
So the understanding I get is, while less is more, you don't clutter the surface, rather create layers, and if you're smart or if you need it, you will dive deeper and get it, right? Now, I'll come to you, Sandeep. So most apps today are execution-led. How do we reimagine UX across the full cycle?
We would imagine what the full cycle is all about. The way Kailash was saying, it is fully loaded app. Today is a world where people call it the one app, fully loaded app with an enriched experience. But when you have this so much crowded marketplace, with the things where 80% of the things are not even being used once or twice, how it can be a unified experience for a consumer. So when you look at full experience, which is beyond execution, you have to think what the consumer life cycle is. The consumer life cycle is emerges from discovery. When they are on an application, they want to discover what exactly is going on. And from discovery to decision making, whether the information which you are able to provide them, which is able to help them to take decisions. And once the decision has been taken, the execution is already simplified to a large extent. So execution can be done. But what beyond execution? We are in a business of where people aspire to make money, people aspire to build wealth. And decisions can be right, decisions can be wrong. So how do we empower them to track that with right information, whether all decisions are right, all decisions are aligned to the future goals, or all decisions are aligned to what the objectives of the investments and trading are, and to help them to optimize their decisions. So this covers for me the entire life cycle or decision cycle for a consumer. And if any application for that matter is able to define this framework of discovery to optimization, I think they will be able to give the unified consumer experience, which is not a feature-led, which is a behavior-led.
Great. I'll come to you, Vikas. Is that when we talk about KYC, normally we think about collecting all the client details, documents. But actually, when you want to create a great UX, you have to actually know your customer, what the customer wants, right? What's the best way of getting that? How do you understand customer requirements? How do you collect feedback, especially when you have such a humongous client base? How do you actually make sure that human touch is there? However you automate it, everyone wants certain, it's their money, it's the hard-earned money. So how do you get that? How do you decide what to take, what to filter out, how to implement, and how to balance expectations of customers with divergent views and requirements? Because in today's day and age, it takes a minute for someone to tweet, right? So how do you manage that?
Yeah, I think interesting spin on the KYC. And to actually know your customer, I think we do it in a old-fashioned way, how the actual KYC used to happen in earlier days, like somebody kind of actually come to your house, take a photo, take a wet signature over there. So we feel like to understand our customer really well, we have to be in their setting, in their environment, in their surroundings. So we like every week, every weekend, some of us actually travel to some corner of the country in some small town, not just in the metros, to kind of go and meet our users, right? And we run that kind of a program called Ab India Karega Groww. I think we covered like more than 200 cities in the last 3-4 years around that, and have been doing that on a regular basis. I think that is one way like where we are in constant touch with the users in their surroundings and understanding more from them. What are they liking? What are they not liking? What more are they expecting, right? But at the same time, one thing that I've also learned over time is user say something else, think something else, and does something else, right? So you can't just go on like what users are saying, right? Well, obviously AI can now help you to transcribe all the calls and everything and a lot of research. But what you're gonna get is like what are they saying, what are they speaking about it. But what they're thinking is very, very different. What they're doing is very, very different. So which is where we need to go to the second level and do more of observation around that. And that's why we also don't act upon everything that we kind of hear every weekend and say, okay, this weekend I heard this and let me kind of go next week and just kind of build it and kind of roll it out. We just kind of keep on collecting that in a subconscious way and then generating insights when we are kind of seeing some kind of patterns emerging from it. And that helps us to actually kind of decipher like what actually the users want versus a need and what are they kind of saying about it, right? So that actually kind of guide us better is what we are kind of learned and sometimes you kind of burn the fingers with that. And like what Kailash was saying, sometimes it's like saying more and more no to the users also, like why will not kind of build something. But it has to happen in a very traditional way of kind of understanding that. And second piece is like a lot of people say it's a very cliche statement, but like being in your user's shoes. So we have one of our brand commandment which says like be a power user of your own product. So all of us kind of profusely use our product a lot, right? And even to the L2, L3 levels, which people are not going to use on a daily basis, which kind of actually help us understand more. And whenever something comes to us, some kind of new requirement, we are either able to connect with the subconscious insights that we kind of gather from talking to a lot of users or from our own experiences, right? That actually help us to also validate and invalidate. Yes, sometimes there are biases, but all of this kind of things kind of put together help us to understand the user much more deeply and then take the right calls. We still end up making some bad things, but it helps us in being more right than wrong in terms of percentage, which kind of helps. So that's one way we do it.
Thanks. Now, being from the exchange, I can't resist asking a question regarding exchanges and how you guys interact about, think about it. So, commodity exchanges have longer trading hours than other segments like equity or currency. What are the differentiations in the UX that may be required to provide users a seamless experience across these various segments and asset classes?
So this question is less of a panel question, but more of a request from the regulator or exchange to increase their market share. Okay, so again, what we try to do on this serious topic, okay, is two things. One is when we provide a trading experience, okay, like for example, our option trading experience, okay, in a dedicated app, we want to make sure that all assets are available for that user. So it's not differentiated by a certain index or a certain commodity. The idea is to make sure that if you're providing an experience, okay, not just do it for a particular asset class, but do it for all asset class. So when the user comes to a particular product because of some feature that's been recommended to him, or some particular data set or some particular analytics, he's very happy that he's seen this not just for the popular assets, but also for assets which are commodities which are being developed as a market today. So that's first, and secondly, obviously, we work very closely with MCX and participate in investor education programs. We go with the MCX team, exchanges team, trying to make sure that we are also telling users about this is a different class of commodity or different class of assets which is available for trading. And there's a lot of evangelism that goes on the ground. So it's always a combination that when we are trying to ship a particular feature, is it covering all asset classes which are available onto the platform? But obviously, for an evolving category or for a evolving segment like commodity, which is now getting more and popular. I mean, we have seen phases of natural gas being popular, then crude oil, and now it's gold and silver, right? So I think a combination of availability of that particular feature or experience plus evangelism for that category, I think both has to go hand in on to make it a market.
Thanks, Pravin, for accommodating that question so well. Now, gentlemen, we have 30 seconds for each of you to sum up whatever else we haven't covered. So, Kailash, starting with you.
Use Zerodha. Just kidding, use whatever you like. I think, as I mentioned earlier, the whole idea of UX rooted in UI is about to change, it seems like. AI assistants becoming a thing, AI assistants mediating transactions on behalf of users. So I think we'll all be, maybe a decade from now, we'll be rethinking the very fundamentals of UX. And we've started thinking about it. So just putting it out there.
Great. Pravin?
Get Dhan.
No, we all want Dhan. We all want Dhan.
Thank you for saying that.
This one.
So the journey starts by downloading the Dhan app. Okay. But honestly, it's an ever-evolving thing. There are more and more complexities coming on. It makes sense to keep things simpler as possible because today the market is very competitive. Users have options to get onto any platforms. There is no friction today which was available earlier. So users and the competition and the regulators, okay, and the exchanges, everyone puts all of us on a front seat, trying to make sure we are out there and far exceeding the expectations that a normal investor, user, trader would have from us.
Great. Sandeep?
It's all about money. So how we create a fine balance, I think both of them have nicely summed it up. It's all about giving consumer, because the UX is ever evolving. What UX was 2 years or 3 years, 5 years back is not going to be relevant down the line, maybe a year. So the speed of change is very high. And how we create a long-term approach which sustain consumer behavior, not disturbing their core needs, is the objective to achieve. And we have regulatory expectations, we have consumer expectation, and then infra and the tech. How to have fine balance and create a simplified, unified platform for consumer. That is what is the game all about. So it's all about Paytm Money.
So everyone's making the elevator pitch, Vikas.
So I think like what in the beginning some of the panelists said, in the trading world, UX is very important because you don't control the pricing. You are not going to getting any unique selection which happens, let's say, in the commerce world or something. So UX is, I would say, the core. All of us kind of, that is the only way that we can help the users to kind of grow in their life, technically. So we, I think it's the most important thing, and that's the highest validation that we do for the users. And we believe the best way to do that is by keeping it simple. I think the interfaces will kind of keep on evolving. The form factors will kind of keep on changing, and the AI will accelerate that many more. But if it is simple, it'll kind of work. It'll kind of click with the users. Just keep on connecting with your users on a regular basis. I don't think there is any other secret sauce apart from just kind of being in touch with your users regularly. Some of us get too busy just kind of being in our work day in, day out, and we just kind of miss this out. Make out time for that and just kind of go and meet your users, observe them, and then come back and then use your own product sense to kind of create great interfaces for them.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, audience. You've been great. My only wish for you is that may you continue to grow money and create Dhan with zero obstacles. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May I request Anybody has, since this is a secret session and Secrets Decoded is going further, maybe we have time for a question or so. Oh, okay. We are not going to be able to accommodate so many of them at this point in time. So
we'll take 3. If we have time for 3, we'll take 3.
Depending on how long the answer to the first one goes, we can take 3.
Okay.
I think we'll try and tell me what is your opinion. Maybe we can try the youngest and the eldest.
Okay, so this gentleman in the front. Then
I'll give you a mic.
Sure, thank you. Thank you very much. It was a good masterclass, I would say. And maybe I'll start with a cryptic question from powered by Rumali Roti to the AI. How far have we come through? And that's specifically for Dr. Kailash Nadh. I'm a big fan of the way you work. So your thought on that from the earlier perspective to now, I mean, on the AI taking on the user experience and other interfaces and all.
The first principles underlying these thoughts have remained the same. That blog post that you're referring to, it was specifically about platforms and products out there plastering powered by AI.
Yeah,
and then this is pre-LLM. Yeah. And today, in fact, it's kind of, AI is so commoditized, you can just pip install whatever AI you want. So if you say powered by AI, it's a bit demeaning because it's expected. So whatever those thoughts that I had that were articulated, they've played out. They haven't aged like milk.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm also same school of thought. Thank you so much.
Great. Can you pass the mic to the lady behind you?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Shibani, and I work as a designer at a behavioral design consultancy. So my question is specifically to Mr. Vikas. So even Dr. Nath spoke about this, that there are many things that you have to say no to. You get a lot of voice of consumer feedback in your user research. So how do you decide what do we have to listen to now, what we need to set aside for later, and what we should completely ignore? Because as a researcher, there is the urge to listen to what the user wants and give it to them. So yeah, that was it.
So yeah, like I was saying, it's not just about what user is saying, but actually what user is thinking, what user is doing. So I think a lot of the answers also going to come from observing the users much more closely. That is it like a really, really strong requirement or not? Because otherwise you'll be just kind of flooded with the requirements. And as a researcher, while it is our job to kind of get a lot of insights over there, but also to distill it in the way, and then working with the product and design to say, what do we really want? And we had to say a no to a lot of those things until it's like really people are kind of, I've even seen cases where users are kind of screaming top of the roof saying like, I want this. When we build it, we could go back to them like, they'll say like, thank you, but I don't need it. And they won't even use it type, right? So you have to kind of really go peel the onion layer by layer and kind of understand from the observations, do you really want it? And unfortunately, there's no science, but a lot of art and a lot of product sense to be used and a lot of judgment which kind of goes in over there. And sometimes the judgment kind of plays well, sometimes it doesn't. But you kind of keep on sharpening that skill by just kind of being in more closer touch and observing the users more and more.
Great. There was a hand at the back. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a recent circular on this from the SEBI on Disabilities Act. Okay, and that's going to impact a lot of UX design. So are you guys ready for that? Because that's going to start April 27 onward.
Who's your question to?
This is for everyone.
No, you have to.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. There was a Supreme Court judgment and an inspection on the broking industry where accessibility audits were done on broking platforms. And it has been a law, now it's going to be enforced, and pretty sure all of us will have to comply. But at Zerodha, we've been working on accessibility for a long time, so the April deadline is quite okay. We have the foundations, we just have to improve it.
Like as part of that, I think all of us have went through the audit and it has come with a good thing, but all of us are working continuously to keep on adding even more, even without before the Honorable Supreme Court asks us to do it, right? Because we feel like, yes, it should be inclusive and should be for everyone.
We can take this last.
Last question, yes.
So thank you, everyone. My question to Vikas is that before Groww had entered, there were other trading platforms, and Zerodha, when Zerodha entered, it had basically created a very good market. It had a very good UI, UX, and it had very minimal charges. So can you tell me exactly how did Groww team, what vision they had? And not only now, Groww is one of the largest trading platform. It has beaten Zerodha and other trading platforms in terms of numbers also.
He stole our market share.
So he's asking you how to beat you now.
So I think some of those things we kind of demystified in the panel. Almost everybody's kind of working towards that. I think the main thing has been we started with the vision, like you were saying, democratizing financial services for the entire India. That's what we kind of keeps on going every day, and how we kind of keep on simplifying things, because while I think all of us are doing good in our respective yardsticks, but I think overall, as a country, we're still very, very underpenetrated compared to other countries that you see, both developed or developing. So there's still a long way to kind of go around that. And for that, we have to kind of keep on innovating more and more, which is what we did in some of the areas of simplifying things for the users, for the first-time investors who are kind of coming in the market, and even for the existing ones, and making it more and more easy for them to do research, do investment, and kind of even monitor all of those things in the entire life cycle, right? Yeah, maybe you do the same, and we beat all of us over here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.